All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the week 3 lecture on the Leadership Challenge. As a reminder, our impact text focuses inward, and our Leadership Challenge text is a focus on the practice of leadership, the outward act of leadership. So we pick back up with the practice of model the way. Exemplary leaders stand for something. They believe in something and care about something. They find their voice by clarifying personal values and then expressing those values in their own unique and authentic style. Leaders also know they cannot force their views on others, and instead they work tirelessly to forge consensus around a set of common principles. Words and deeds must be consistent for leaders to have integrity. Leaders must set the example by aligning their personal actions with shared values. When constituents know their leaders have the courage of convictions, they're more willing to commit. People first follow the person, then the plan. It's fitting that we're covering the practice of model the way as we simultaneously learn about why people don't trust our leaders in the impact text. There can be a false sense of comfort in all of us that we're somehow immune to the pitfalls of leadership. I think that was illustrated well in Andy Stanley's Bowl of Stew presentation. The information listed in this chapter is helpful in understanding how important it is to toe the line as a leader, to ultimately model the way for followers. John Maxwell begins his reflections by identifying 5 principles that serve as the signposts as you strive to model the way. Number 1, work on yourself before you work on others. Number 2, work on yourself more than you work on others. Number 3, it's easier to teach what is right than to do what is right. Number 4, people do what they see. And number 5, the example of others profoundly impacts our lives. This is ultimately the process of self-leadership. The first person you should lead is yourself. Leaders must take the inner journey to develop themselves as people. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a journey that happens overnight. This is a lifetime journey. As a leader, it's imperative that you lead yourself before you lead others. And many times as leaders, we want to change people. But in the area of modeling the way, this principle is crucial. Don't try to change someone else until you change yourself. It's tempting to think leaders always lobby for change and followers dig in their heels and resist. But the truth is that leaders don't like change any more than followers, unless it's their idea. Every time an organization ceases to change, it's because a leader got in the way. Followers never stop an organization from changing, leaders do. That's John Maxwell's perspective. Change always starts on the inside. Don't try to build something great out in the world until you've tried to build something great inside. Similarly, don't worry about where you're going until you know where and who you are. Settle the inside issues first. As a leader, you are the picture and the model. People don't buy into your vision, they buy into you. The only way to get them to buy into you with conviction and credibility is to live it out first. As leaders, we teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are. Maxwell talked about learning this revelation early on. He quoted a book by Fred Smith, Learning to Lead. Leadership is both something you are and something you do. In other words, leadership is not just something you live, but something you behave. It has to be fleshed out by action. Powerful leadership emerges when your life matches the message. Effective leaders convey their message through their behavior and actions, not just through their words. This is vitally important because people do what they see. You need only look at how this is learned from an early age. If you have children, you know that they do what they see. When you as a leader look at your people, it's like looking in the mirror because they become just like you. They hear your message, but they follow your footsteps. And finally, Maxwell ends the 5 principles of modeling the way with, the example of others profoundly impacts our lives. Who we are today is largely a result of the input we've received over the years. This may sound familiar as Irwin encourages us to examine the past as a means of developing self-awareness. The leaders we personally admire are rich sources of information about our own values and beliefs. We chose them for a reason, so thinking more consciously about them can be extremely insightful. As we conclude this chapter, it's appropriate to think about the ultimate example of modeling the way, which was set by Jesus Christ. And there's no better example given to us as followers. And on Trevecca's campus stands a statue that serves as a reminder for all of us. And I have that statue, that picture here on this particular slide. It is Jesus holding the basin with his arms spread as if to welcome us all. It's symbolic of the passage in John 13:12 through 15, where he knelt before the disciples to teach them and set the example. And it reads, John 13:12 through 15, when he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I've done for you? He asked. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set an example that you should do as I have done for you. So as you seek to model the way for others, remember that your life truly is a beacon, not just to those who you lead, but to a watching world. We live in a day where corporate greed and corrupt leadership make headline news. Abuses of spiritual leadership have soured many people on the claims of the gospel. And as Maxwell stated, I can't think of another time in history when we were more in need of upright standards and standard bearers to lead the way. By his actions, Jesus demonstrated to his followers what it is to lead, and he tells us to go and do as he has done. Continuing on with our exemplary practices, we learn about the second practice of inspire a shared vision. Leaders envision the future by imagining exciting and ennobling possibilities. They dream of what might be, and they passionately believe that they can make a positive difference. I really like Andy Stanley's definition of vision. Vision is a clear mental picture of how things could be, fueled by the conviction that it should be. But visions seen only by the leader are insufficient to mobilize and energize. Leaders enlist others in exciting possibilities by appealing to shared aspirations. They breathe life into ideal and unique images of the future and get others to see how their own dreams can be realized by embracing a common vision. As David McAllister Wilson explained, vision isn't everything, but it's the beginning of everything. In the words of Proverbs 29, without vision, the people perish. Christianity is a vision about both the present and the future, and the vision is the kingdom of God. And the way Christian leadership inspires a shared vision of the kingdom is a model for the way leaders who are Christian can develop their own leadership. Again, this is a way of understanding our core. Our faith impacts the way that we see the world. We often say seeing is believing, but the deeper truth is that believing is a certain way of seeing. As a Christian, your leadership will begin and end with your faith. In order to inspire a shared vision, we must be tuned in with our followers. McAllister listed the quote from Lovett Weems, our best leaders tell us what we're thinking. Our best leaders tell us what we're feeling. We need to listen deeply to others. Listening helps create buy-in. People support what they help to create. Ultimately, leaders give life to a vision by making it tangible through a process of reverse engineering. Leaders ask, what would success look like, and how can we organize to achieve these results? Christians also ask, what would success look like to God? The question is especially important as we consider what we learned from the assigned chapters in Impact for this week. There are temptations for us to take the low road, to allow power to corrupt our core, and to allow arrogance to skew our perspective. Vision is important to move and mobilize others. It's also important for leaders to develop their own personal narrative about what they want their leadership and influence to look like.